So here's what I learned. Now, the first experiment has to do with biohacking the mind. So a lot of people do not think about the mind as something that, that you want to actually hack. But what I learned from Dave Asprey in our experiments with 40 years of Zen is that consciousness is hackable, and that the way modern science is evolving is so interesting. You can actually study up to 50 different frequencies in the brain. So a lot of you may have heard of alpha, beta, theta, delta. Have you guys heard of that? Turns out that's really, really, really basic. We've gone so much beyond that. I spoke to the author of the book, God in Your Brain, Dr. Mark Waltham. There are at least 50 different frequencies which are being studied right now. And you can reverse engineer these frequencies to change the way your brains function. So I do this, JJ does this, Dave does this, and 40 years of Zen is one of those things. Now, what I did that I found had the biggest result was this. I want to show you something really interesting. So if you can see that image there, that's JJ, Dave, and me actually looking at my brainwaves. That's what my brainwaves look like. So by learning what brainwaves correspond to what states you want, what corresponds to creativity, what corresponds to intuition, what corresponds to now this is weird, but the ability to alter and bend reality, you can induce those states at will, and then you can do more with life. So I actually learned how to function intuitively in a waking state. I learned how to make my meditation go really deep, and all of this through hooking my brain up and then studying these brainwave patterns. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I can guarantee you that one of the things that you can do immediately without any expensive machinery is radical forgiveness. Radical forgiveness is the big thing. Radical forgiveness was the key to the healthiest brain states. Radical forgiveness is one of the biggest things that you can bring into your life. Forgive yourself or someone else that hurt you every single day. Now, the next thing that I worked on this past 1 year is refining my own meditation practice and being able to go into really deep, powerful states of meditation. Nothing comes close to the sixth phase. It isn't me who invented it. Rather, I looked at all the latest research on meditation and I put it together into one 20-minute hack. I believe in science. I believe in what scientists are saying works. I believe in empirical evidence, studying it yourself. Sixth phase does this. There are 6 different levels of your self, your consciousness that you can level up on, that science shows has the greatest contribution to well-being. And the sixth phase takes you through this through the most effective way in 15 minutes. So the first one is compassion and kindness. So in the first 2 to 3 minutes of the meditation, you learn a simple exercise that helps you create compassion with all of humanity. Now, when you do this, you find that over time, and over time I mean within a month, within 2, within 3 months, your idea of yourself changes. You start to give a damn about the rest of the world. Your affinity to your religion or your tribe or your race or your country starts fading away, and you develop an affinity with the entire human race. You become more humanistic. And that's the first thing that happens in phase 1. Then you go on to phase 2. Phase 2 is about gratitude. Science has shown that gratitude has the single largest correlation with human well-being than any other character trait. So you then go into gratitude. Stage 3, you go into forgiveness. We've already spoken about that. Now, all 3 of those states have to do with blisscipline, with the idea of disciplining yourself to be in a state of bliss throughout your day, right? But then you go to phase 4, 5, 6, which is based on future dreaming. So phase 4, 5, 6 is about developing a vision for your future and the impact you want to have in the world. Phase 4 is basically thinking of having a vision for your life 3 years ahead. Phase 5 is having a vision for how you want today to unfold. And phase 6 is feeling supported. Phase 6 comes from religious and spiritual traditions where you have this feeling of being supported by a higher power. Now, we string it all together, and in the book Code of the Extraordinary Mind, I included a bonus chapter where I explain this entire process. So you start with day 1 on compassion, day 2 on gratitude, but by day 7, you're able to string them all together and you have your meditation practice. And entrepreneurs who do this, their lives change. So next up, body. So as I turned 40, I managed to get to a better fitness level than I was 25 to 40. So I want to share with you what I discovered. So the first big thing is how do you measure fitness? If you're not measuring it, you don't know that you're truly becoming fit. There are two really simple ways. One is resting heart rate. When I wake up in the morning, I check my resting heart rate and I try to keep it below a certain threshold. Now, I'm not going to share that number with you because it's different for different people based on your biology, based even on your ethnicity, based on where you live and the foods you eat. But you should know your resting heart rate and you should try to make sure that isn't going higher. Higher actually means less fit. But the second thing I do is a simple concept called set points. So a set point is a simple measure that lets you lock onto a particular health level. You see, as we get older, different things happen to biology. We might put on weight around our waist or our thighs. We might lose our endurance or our fitness level. But most of us accept this as being so. We accept the fact that, when I'm 80, I probably won't be able to do as many push-ups as I can right now when I'm 35. Or, when I'm 70, I'll probably get some weight around your belly. Why? That's another rule that you want to disrupt. So what I do is I establish set points. See my belt? Don't worry, I'm keeping my pants on, people. So I have a particular loop in my belt. I've had that same hole in my belt for 10 years. Every time I find that I can no longer tighten my belt to that hole, I know that I have failed a set point. So my belt loop is a set point. And that means I immediately have to install what is called a set point correction procedure. So a set point correction procedure is simply, for me, it's 1 week low carb diet, working out in the gym twice a week. That's it. And in 1 week, I go back to that same belt level. So I've been at the same belt level for 10 years. So set points are really important. I have 2 set points. Belt loop is 1. Now the second set point is really simple. It's push-ups. At any time in my life, I must be able to drop down and do 50 push-ups. If I cannot, I have failed my set point. So with set points, there's a terminology I use, and it's called your non-negotiable point, your non-negotiable set point. My non-negotiable set point is 50 push-ups. If I cannot do 50 push-ups, it means that something is off. Maybe I've put on too much weight, or maybe my muscle strength has gone down. Again, what happens next? Can anyone answer? Set point correction procedure. So I go back to the gym and I change the way I'm eating. So I've been able to consistently do the same amount of push-ups as 40 as I could at 25. But here's the thing, it's actually getting higher. So I just set a new push-up record, which is 55, which is, it's still pretty good. But here's what happens. Every time you fail a set point, let's say I wake up one day and I cannot do 50, I can only do 47. What happens is, not only must I correct myself to 50, I must level up by 1. So that's called a correction procedure. I must level up by 1. My new acceptable set point becomes 51. So over the last couple of years, I've gone from 50 push-ups to 51. You see, our brains are really interesting when we fail. So if I set a goal for 50 and I only do 47, you feel like a failure. But that's the wrong conditioning in your brain. You want to flip that around and turn a problem into a project, or a problem into a challenge. So my brain flips and I'm like, okay, I did 47, awesome. Now this means I got to raise my set point to 51. So now for the next 2 weeks, I'll do push-ups, I'll go to the gym, I'll eat healthy, and I get to 51 and then 52. I want to be able to do 100 push-ups at 80.